Good morning, friends. It's me, Parvez. And in fact, we are going to learn a very important poem from the 12th class that is studied both in CBSE and in RBSE. And the name of the poem is A Roadside Stand by Robert Frost. Before we start, the proper text of the poem, I think it is a long poem. It is a lyric, in fact, and it is a narrative lyric. And in fact, we had better just go through the technicalities of the poem first, then we'll just discuss the poem line by line. In fact, the poem is The Roadside Stand. Look at the pronunciation of the word road. It is pronounced as road, not road. Road, that is incorrect pronunciation. The correct pronunciation is road. Okay, The Roadside Stand by Robert Frost. Robert Frost has already written down a number of very popular poems, as we already study in the various classes, in fact, or in the library. His poem After Apple Picking Up, and his poem Mending Wall is very popular. Frost's poem Birches is a very pictorial poem, and it is a pastoral poem. We may have another poems by Robert Frost that are very popular. We may have Stopping by Woods on a Snowy is a poet of the 20th century, and his nationality is American. Actually, he is not an English poet. He is an American poet, and in fact, his field of writing, his sphere. He's a regional poet. As you already seen, Thomas Hardy in England, he just comes from the Wessex land in England. That is an imaginary land, as we are having R.K. Narayan in India, and he is having an imaginary land that is Malgudi. In fact, New England, what is the New England? Actually, America consists of 50 states. And out of these 50 states, 6 states are called New England. So I think New England is the synonymous expression for America. So New England. So whatever Frost writes, actually Frost writes on the issues and on the sphere, on the regions of this New England, 6 states, okay, of America. Actually, he is a well popular poet, a renowned poet of America, and he won the Pulitzer Award 4 times. First time he just won the Pulitzer Award for his poem New Hampshire. The second time Pulitzer Award Frost won for the collected poem, and the third time further for the poem The Further Range, and the fourth time Frost won the Pulitzer Award for A Witness Tree. And in fact, his first poem is Butterfly poem. Okay, Butterfly, My Butterfly. It was the poem by Frost that he just composed the first time. And his first book is A Boy's Will. Okay, Robert Frost's first poem is My Butterfly, and Robert Frost's first book is you may say A Boy's Will. पहली poem है इनकी My Butterfly, पहली किताब है A Boy's Will. In fact, Robert Frost has written down so many beautiful poems, and I may mention here 4 or 5 poems here. His Mending Wall is very popular. Frost's poem After Apple Picking, that's a very great poem. And we have already seen Birches, that is a pastoral poem by Robert Frost. The Road Not Taken, we already studied this poem in the 10th class in CBSE. And in fact, today we are going to learn and understand and comprehend the another very popular poem by Robert Frost, that is The Roadside Stand. Okay? Yes, come on. Let us see the technicalities of this poem. The Roadside Stand by Robert Frost. Okay? In fact, look at the rhyme scheme. What is the rhyme scheme of this poem? The rhyme scheme of this poem is A B A B. You already seen how to just decide the rhyme scheme by the sounds of the terminating syllable. So in fact, we already seen in another poem how to just decide the rhyme scheme of a poem. But here you just learn that the rhyme scheme of this poem is A B A B. Okay. Now look. So this is the rhyme scheme. Now look, what is the meter? METRE. What is the meter of this poem? The meter of this poem is pentameter, iambic pentameter. And it is unrhymed iambic pentameter. So when the pentameter is unrhymed, that is said to be an example of blank verse. So in fact, this poem has been just written down in blank verse. Blank verse, one line definition, unrhymed iambic pentameter. Okay. Pentameter means 10 syllables. 2 syllables make 1 meter. So 5 meters means 10 syllables. And iambic means when unstressed syllable comes first and syllable stressed come second. Okay. So that is called iambic, unstressed plus stressed syllables. That is the combination for 1 meter, and that is iambic. Pentameter means 10 syllables, 5 meters, and iambic means unstressed plus stressed syllable. Okay. So iambic pentameter, that is the meter. And what is the genre of the poem? Okay. So in fact, you may say this is a description. This poem is a description of a rural side, of a bucolic side, village side. So whenever you go through a poem, if any composition is cast and couched on the rural sphere, that genre of the poem is said to be an example of eclogue. So you may say this poem is an eclogue. Okay. So this is genre. Genre of the poem is ECLOGUE, eclogue. And what kind of the poem? When any poem is written down on the rural life, when there is a description of the vegetation, when there is a description of animals, or river side, tree side, fruit side, rural, that poem can be just categorized as a poem of pastoral. So this is a pastoral poem. Eclogue. What kind of eclogue? You may say it is an eclogue or it is a pastoral poem. Because there is a description of fruits and village side, mountain side. So it is definitely a pastoral poem. Okay. Now look, what is the theme of this poem? The theme of this poem is the economic imbalance. Economic imbalance in the society. Economic inequality. Some people are rich and affluent. The other section of the society is passing through the juggernaut of poverty. So that is the contrast in this poem. We already seeing the contrast in this poem. Some rich people are becoming richer, more affluent, Affluent people are becoming more affluent, and the poor are becoming the poorer. In fact, that is the unequal distribution of economy in the society, and that becomes finally a root of revolution. Whenever a revolution comes, it comes from the poor section of the society. So, in fact, it is an effort of Robert Frost to just bring up the poor section of the society at the neck to neck of the rich society there. Okay, so in fact, everybody is having the life, everybody is having the right to lead a healthy and happy life. In fact, so it is a reforming poem. Okay, so basic lead motive, the basic objective of this poem is to just improve, just increase the income of the poor section of the society that is in America, especially in New England. I already just discussed here in the beginning of my lecture that 6 states out of 50 in America are said to be a region that is said to be New England. So New England is nothing but America, on which Robert Frost writes. So it is a pastoral poem, it is an eclogue, iambic pentameter, and there are 4 stanzas in this poem. There are 4 stanzas, and the tone of the poem, what is the tone? The tone of the poem is complaint and pathos. Robert Frost is having a complaint before the society. He is grieved. He is very pathetic to see the response of the rich society for the poor section of the society. And in fact, the tone of the poet, Robert Frost, for in this poem is of complaint and pathos. This poem is full of pathos, and he is in a pathetic mood. I'm talking about the poet's mood, in fact, here. And look here. The most important thing in this life is, before we come to on the text of the poem here, look at the brief information of the birth and the death of the poet here. In fact, Robert Frost was born. He was born on the 26th March 18. He was born in 1874 and he died in the year 1963. Okay, January 29th. And in fact, he is called a modern poet. Some critics always opine in a different way. They find the element of romanticism in the poetry of Robert Frost. Robert Frost is not a romantic poet, chronologically speaking, but from features point of view, we may find some features of a romantic era in his poem. Otherwise, he is considered as a modernist, and in fact, he is a modern age poet. Okay. So in fact, now it is all about the brief area here. Look at the meter. The meter of the poem is blank verse, unrhymed, iambic pentameter. Now come here. I may just recall the lines of his famous poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. The woods are lovely, dark and deep. I have promises to keep, miles to go before I sleep, miles to go before I sleep. These lines were just on the table of Jawaharlal Nehru, and in fact, he was much inspired by Robert Frost. Nehru was also a great author, in fact, and he might be the eligible candidate for the Nobel Prize. Otherwise, it is a quite different discussion that Winston Churchill got the Nobel Prize, while the deserving candidate for that Nobel Prize was Mr. Nehru. In fact, it is a different thing. We may come on the topic here and the first line of the poem, we may say here. There stands. So this is the text. Okay. So let me just remove this item. Okay. There stands an old house at the site. Robert Frost is having the grievance. Robert Frost is having the complaint from the richer section for the poor section there. He is speaking on behalf of the poor section of the society. In fact, poor, especially the poor who live in rural area, village area, or bucolic area. Okay? Remote areas. So there stands an old house. Frost says it is a scene. The location of the line is a village, a small hamlet, and near the highway. There stands, वहाँ पर है, an old house. What is there? An old house. There stands an old house